Over 2,000 years ago, in the bustling heart of Rome, there was a man who, in many ways, was just like you. He was striving, working hard, trying to live within his means, and doing his best to stay focused. He was dealing with the constant distractions of life, battling against envy, trying to engage in the politics of his time, and working to follow the teachings of the great Stoics like Zeno, Cleanthes, and Cato. But despite all his efforts, he felt something gnawing at him. He kept comparing himself to others, wasting time, and feeling like he wasn't truly embodying the Stoic mindset. This man, named Ceres, wrote a letter to his friend Seneca, the renowned Stoic philosopher, seeking advice on how to find peace amid the chaos of life. Seneca's response, which has been preserved for us, is an essay titled On the Tranquility of Mind. It's one of his finest works because it addresses a universal struggle that persists even today. How do we find peace and tranquility in a world that is constantly pulling us in different directions? The Stoics didn't believe peace could be found by retreating from the world, by fleeing to a monastery, or hiding away from the noise. Life, as it is, cannot be avoided. We can't pretend that the world isn't happening around us. Instead, they focused on how to achieve ataraxia, a state of freedom from disturbances, in a world that is often chaotic, noisy, and dysfunctional. Seneca himself struggled with this. During one of the most turbulent times in history, under the mad reign of Emperor Nero, Seneca tried to find his own tranquility. Amidst the noise of Rome, people being arrested, blacksmiths hammering, horses galloping in the streets, he would retreat to his writing desk and try to focus on his work. The noise was so overwhelming that he said it was enough to make him hate his own ears. Yet, he developed the mental discipline to tune out the external chaos, focusing inwardly and finding peace despite the world around him. For Seneca, true tranquility wasn't about escaping the world. It was about cultivating an inner fortitude that allowed you to stay centered no matter what was happening outside. As he wrote, "Outdoors may be bedlam, provided there is no disturbance from within." In other words, you can find peace no matter how loud or disruptive the world around you becomes, if you can. Silence the turmoil within yourself. One of Seneca's favorite definitions of tranquility comes from a word he calls emia, which refers to the sense of being on the right path, staying focused and not distracted by the paths that cross ours. He warned that much of the disturbance in our lives doesn't come from external noise, but from the inner noise of comparison, jealousy, and distraction. We look at others and feel inadequate or envious because we forget our own journey, our own path, and the importance of focusing on what truly matters to us. Seneca also warns against trying to escape our inner turmoil by constantly running away from it, whether that means traveling from one exotic destination to another or switching from one distraction to the next. He quotes the poet Lucretius, "Thus each man ever flees himself, but we never flee ourselves. No matter where you go, there you are." The problem isn't the world around us, it's how we engage with it and how we allow it to disturb our peace of mind. What Seneca teaches us is that tranquility is a state of mind. It's not about eliminating everything that rattles us. It's about cultivating the mental strength to tune out the distractions, the comparisons, and the noise, both internal and external, while still being in the world. He also advises carefully choosing the people we surround ourselves with. If we're constantly with people who are always rushing, who are always in a state of chaos, or who are constantly trying to one-up us, it becomes difficult to maintain our own tranquility. Epictetus famously said, "If you live with a lame man, you will learn how to limp." In other words, the people we spend time with have a profound influence on how we think and behave. If we surround ourselves with people who value stillness, focus, and tranquility, we are more likely to live that way too. Ultimately, Seneca's wisdom shows us that tranquility isn't about escaping the world. It's about developing a resilience that allows us to remain at peace even in the most turbulent times. When you stop allowing external noise to disrupt your inner calm, when you stop comparing yourself to others and instead focus on your own path, then you can achieve a deeper peace, one that isn't shaken by the chaotic world around you. This is the kind of tranquility the Stoics lived by, and it's something we can all learn to embrace. In today's world, it seems like everyone is constantly distracted, staring at their phones, rushing from one thing to the next without any real sense of purpose. The truth is, if you're always caught up in the frenzy, constantly chasing after the next thing, you'll probably never find true tranquility. The problem is not just the busyness, but the lack of intentionality behind it. As we go about our days, we often prize the wrong things things that don't contribute to our peace or long-term happiness. The Stoic philosopher Seneca talks about this idea of busy idleness, where people are increasingly busy without any real sense of direction or purpose. Imagine running into someone who looks busy as they rush out of their house in the morning. If you asked them what they were doing, they'd probably say something like, "I have a lot of stuff to do," but when pressed about the purpose behind it all, they'd have no clear answer. They might be racing around, overwhelmed by their schedule, without any intentional plan or connection between tasks. It's like they're slaves to their own calendars, constantly on the move, but not with a clear sense of where they're going or why. In our own lives, it's easy to fall into this trap. Think about how often we let our emails dictate our actions, how we respond to notifications and messages without ever taking a moment to ask, is this the best use of my time? This is where the concept of emia comes in, a Stoic principle that teaches us to distinguish between what's essential and what's urgent, what truly matters versus what feels like an obligation. Cultivating tranquility is about learning to filter out distractions and being deliberate about how we spend our time. It's not about being busy for the sake of it. It's about being focused and intentional with every action. Take vacations, for example. You could be on a beach, but if you're frantically checking things off a list, feeling like you need to keep up with everyone else's social media highlights, you're not truly relaxing. Tranquility isn't about a change of scenery. It's a state of mind, a firmness of inner peace that allows you to know what matters and gives you the freedom to let go of everything else. This sense of freedom from distraction is what Seneca refers to when he talks about limiting possessions and simplifying life. He argues that slavery lurks beneath marble and gold, that we think the cost of acquiring things is only their price, but in reality there's so much more. The worry, the maintenance, the guilt, the endless cycle of needing to keep up with material possessions. Too many of us fall into the trap of thinking that buying more will bring peace, only to discover that those very possessions end up owning us. One of the best ways to create more tranquility in your life might be to start by decluttering, not just your physical possessions, but also your mental ones. Seneca would tell us to examine what we're holding on to that doesn't serve us. Are we consuming unnecessary information? Are we letting the noise of the world drown out what's truly important? In the age of endless notifications, it's easy to feel like we're falling behind, but in reality, less can often be more. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, understood this well when he lost all his possessions in a shipwreck and remarked that fortune had freed him to be a less encumbered philosopher. Sometimes having less actually allows us to be more present, more focused, and more aligned with what truly matters. This idea extends to the information we consume as well. Just like Seneca warned about the dangers of accumulating too many possessions, today he might tell us that our addiction to constantly consuming news and information is another source of stress. Instead of trying to keep up with the endless flood of articles, updates, and notifications, Seneca would suggest that we cultivate a more refined information diet, choosing to focus on works and thinkers that truly enrich our minds, rather than simply filling it with the noise of the moment. The key to tranquility is not in having more, it's in having less, but with purpose. By simplifying your life, being intentional about where you invest your energy, and focusing on what truly matters, you'll begin to discover a deeper sense of peace and freedom. So, what can you let go of today, whether it's a possession, a habit, or a distraction, in order to create more space for the things that bring you true serenity? Seneca's writings, despite being over 2,000 years old, offer an incredibly valuable lens through which we can better understand the chaos of our modern world. Instead of scrolling through endless feeds or obsessing over the latest trending topics, I find it far more enlightening to read about similar events from history. When we look back, whether it's a century ago, 200 years ago, or even 2 millennia, we remove the noise, the bias, and the fleeting opinions that cloud our judgment today. History provides us a clearer, more enduring perspective, free from the distractions of partisanship or recency bias, allowing us to grasp what truly matters. Take the pandemic, for example. If we had turned to Marcus Aurelius, who was writing during a plague himself, we could have gained not only valuable perspective, but also a roadmap for how to navigate our own crisis. Stoicism offers more than just philosophical musings. It provides real-world guidance on how to remain steady and purposeful in times of trial. Seneca's central insight on tranquility lies in flexibility, the ability to adapt. He experienced this firsthand throughout his tumultuous life. From his political career to his repeated exiles, Seneca was no stranger to misfortune. But what he teaches us is that tranquility doesn't come from avoiding hardship, but from adjusting to it. Whether it's through a change in career, adapting to sickness, or dealing with exile, Seneca emphasizes the importance of finding a way to serve, no matter what life takes from us. If one can't serve as a soldier, perhaps they can take public office. If they can't be seen in the forum, they can still offer silent support. The key idea Seneca imparts is that we should never view ourselves as powerless, even when the world changes dramatically around us. Tranquility isn't about escaping difficulties. It's about recalibrating our approach to them, always focusing on what we can control and adapting with grace. Seneca's lessons resonate deeply today, especially when considering the broader historical context. He points out that even in the darkest times, like the fall of Athens under the tyranny of the 30 tyrants, there were still figures like Socrates who embodied tranquility. Despite the chaos and violence, Socrates continued to stand firm in his values, offering counsel, encouragement, and solace to those around him. His ability to stay true to his principles and remain a beacon of goodness, even amidst overwhelming darkness, teaches us that tranquility comes from focusing on what we can control: our thoughts, our actions, and our integrity. In today's stressful and turbulent world, tranquility is not about avoiding challenges, but about how we respond to them. It's about cultivating a sense of self-awareness and discipline, eliminating unnecessary distractions, and focusing on what we can do with the time, energy, and circumstances we are given. No, we're not guaranteed success, but if we stay focused on doing what is right, on taking action based on wisdom, justice, courage, and self-discipline, we are present in the moment, and that is the foundation of peace of mind. The future remains uncertain, and it's easy to be overwhelmed by chaos, noise, and distractions. But if we can take Seneca's wisdom to heart, if we focus on what's within our control, and if we embrace the virtues of courage, discipline, justice, and wisdom, we can weather any storm. In the midst of all the uncertainty, we can find strength, peace, and clarity. This is what true tranquility looks like, not an absence of difficulty, but the ability to maintain composure and integrity, no matter what comes our way.